technical issues. So we are back. So this, I will reintroduce. This is our Sunday night program at 5 p.m. a little bit later on Sunday nights. I do it every Sunday night. In this series of weeks, we're talking about the book Violets on the Window, and we're going to go through chapter 3, First Findings, and chapter 4, Visitors. It's a story of a young spirit, Patricia, who died at an early age. And in the first Sunday night, we talked about how she awoke into this hospital in a heavenly city. And as I was saying before, spirits tell us continually how much better people feel when they are done with our physical body here on earth. And of course, we'll get into this, but I also want to say before I start, please subscribe, hit the bell, share this video with your friends, help us spread Spiritism to people who want to understand the spirit world and the process and organization of the spirit world. I also am doing the Spirit's book, and I'll show you this book. Let me bring this up. I'm doing an audiobook on the Spirit's book, and I am publishing each chapter as I finish it, in each of the 4 books plus the conclusions. I'm just still on book 2, and that will be available. I have the Spirit's book playlist on my YouTube channel, so please, and also on my BitChute channel. So if you're interested in the Spirit's book, you can get it free on PDF. You can also, of course, get it on Amazon or bookstore. You can go to my site, nwspiritism.com. Click his picture. You'll find a bookstore that has a lot of Spiritist books. And you can also find it. Just put in Allan Kardec space PDF, and you will find it. That's how I found it. I found it on PDF. It didn't cost me a thing. So now, let's get into our originally scheduled program, and that is Violets on the Windows, chapters 3 and chapters 4. And let's talk about this. So she went to a heavenly city. Now I'll show you a picture of a heavenly city as I'm talking. Now this picture is a picture of No Solar, and she actually talks about it in the book. So let me get right to it. Here we go. So this is how she starts. I woke up in a good mood, and as my memory started coming back, I noticed I was alone. Well, I concluded, if I passed away, I need to adjust quickly and learn how to live as a discarnate being. I love reading and have read many Spiritist books. I remembered the book No Solar, A Spiritual Home by Andre Louis, in which the author describes how it is to live in a spiritual colony. If I was in one of them, I could only be grateful I had passed on and was not wandering nor suffering, and neither did I go to the umbral. So let's talk about that for a second. She didn't go to the umbral. So she's in a celestial colony called San Sebastian, and I'll talk about that later in the book. But this picture here is a medium's rendition of what the city No Solar looked like. So San Sebastian, I believe, is smaller. It's a smaller colony than No Solar, but this is what can be a pretty good vision of a celestial city. And there are many beautiful things to that. There are trees and colors and people going to and fro. It's a working city. This is the great, mundane secret of heaven. It's like Earth in many ways, only much more perfect. I mean, there are many fantastic things you can't conceive of, but it's not something that you put yourself into this wholly unknown world. And the other thing I want to talk about is she did not go to the umbral. Now, in the book by Andre Louis, he first went to the umbral because he was an unconscious suicide. He died because he drank too much. I think he also died of complications of syphilis. This was before they could cure syphilis. So he spent time in the umbral, or lower zone, as they say in English, and that is a place right before the first levels of heaven and then down to the crust of the earth. And that's where spirits who they haven't seen to the light, they haven't gotten rid of all their material desires, they stay on the lower zone. Those who are more spiritual and are ready, and have lived a relatively good life. You don't have to be a saint or anything like that. Most of us aren't. You will be taken to one of the celestial cities. So it's a wonderful It's a wonderful, wonderful place. So she goes, actually, I was being rescued and was feeling just fine. I surveyed my room with curiosity. It was rather plain, yet extremely clean, with a closet, a small table, 2 chairs, a settee, a mirror on the wall, 2 doors, and 1 window. Should I get up? I said softly to myself. And then there was a soft knocking at the door, and Mauricio came in, smiling. I felt like asking him why he smiled so much, but I did not, preferring to smile as well. Good morning, Patricia. How are you? Good morning. You have a beautiful smile, too. I like to smile. When I do it, I look less ugly and don't scare people so much. Besides, I'm so happy. So, of course, then she wrote, I felt my face burning. I must have turned beet red. He seemed not to notice and continued talking cheerfully. You woke up full of pep and you look very well. So when he answered her question about the smile, one must remember when you go to the spirit world, they can read your thoughts. She was not yet used to that. And so as soon as she's thinking, why is he smiling so much? And he told her without her saying that in words. Now, when they communicate by thought and also by pictures, which is very interesting. And when someone, in fact, they talk about that in the books, and I write about that in my series of 3 books, Heaven and Below and Spirits in the Spirit Universe. I really go with this a lot in spirits, of how spirits communicate. And they use many different ways of communicating, not only by thought. They also use the voice, of course, especially for people on the level as No Solar, San Sebastian, where they're still used to speaking and so forth. But they also read minds, and they also send pictures. And then the interesting thing is they even said, and I talk about this in Spirits and Spirit Universe, that when you send pictures, it's like a little bit of, a streak of light coming out of your mouth. And very interesting, when I read the Revelation by in the Bible, they were talking about, the Lord there was, thunderbolts were coming out of his mouth as he was giving orders, which was, after I finished reading all about Spiritism, I reread Revelation, and I finally noticed that part. And I go, oh my heavens, that's exactly what the spirits tell us of how spirits communicate. And what they say is that to be very precise in what they do, they'll send thoughts and they'll send pictures. So they say, meet me at this, at this mountain or whatever. And they'll give you the mountain name. They'll also send you a picture of the mountain. So it's just amazing. So that was, that was done by by the apostle who wrote Revelation, and and absolutely true that they, what he said was lightning bolts come out were like little streaks of light, and actually talking and giving orders as he was talking about in the Revelation. So then he said, get up if you want and make yourself at home. And she said, I feel so sleepy. I wake up and then want to sleep some more. Have I been sleeping for a long time? How many days? And he said, you passed over 16 days ago. You're sleeping so much because you're granting your father's request of making you sleep during these days. She goes, why? Well, we thought it would be better for you. This is a difficult time for the incarnates who suffered the loss of a loved one. He goes, and if you're sleeping, you don't feel their pain. Are they suffering a lot? It's natural that they grieve. Your passing over was sudden. You were fine, so they didn't expect it. You shouldn't worry. Time heals all pain. And then she said, I think I'm going to fall asleep again. I quieted down, and then she dozed off. Now, why would he say it's a difficult time for the incarnates who suffered the loss of a loved one? Why did she have to sleep? So the reason she had to sleep is because the people on earth, her mother and her father, and her, immediate family, or extended family, I should say, they were grieving so much and they wanted her back. And that would cause her pain because she would feel the longing for her pulling her back. And that's why I tell people, when you go to a funeral or when someone's close to you have died, don't have that longing for them to come back. Instead, turn that around and say, I know you're in a better place. God bless you. I hope you're doing well. May other spirits help you on your transition, but you take care of yourself first, and we love you. And that's what you should do when someone passes. And that's probably why they kept her asleep for 16 days, is to let her family, even though they were spiritists and they know they should do what, I just said, but still, it's emotional. And this was a young daughter. This just must have been, just a shock. So then she said, I was alone again, and I prayed sincerely, thanking our Father in heaven for all I was receiving, and I implored Jesus to sustain my family. I asked that they be comforted. I loved them, and I felt loved. They wanted me to be well and happy, and I wished them happiness too. I had a feeling my mother was sad, so while I prayed, I thought of them one at a time. And when I thought of my father, I had a feeling that he was in front of me, saying in his usually grave voice. He says, Patricia, my child, don't feel sorry for yourself. Don't let self-pity discourage you. Be strong. I want you to be happy. Smile. Life is beautiful and doesn't matter if it's here or there. Our only need is to be with God. Friends watch over you, so accept their kindness. Grow strong and don't be afraid. You're fine, so strive to be happy. We will always be together. Truer words cannot be spoken. We are immortal. We always come back and are with our family. Because the law of affinity means that we work together in the spirit world with people who are like us, same personality, same level of spiritual maturity. And then also we usually, not always, there's always exceptions, we reincarnate together to support each other. So your family understands you a lot more than you even know. And then he said, you shouldn't mind you losing your carnal body. You must understand that you should be thankful for life. Pray, feel our love, and smile. And she said, those words had the power of making me feel better. I got up, opened one of the doors, and found a clean, pretty bathroom. I opened the faucet, and tepid, clear water poured out of it. I washed my hands and face, then looked at myself in the mirror and realized my appearance was excellent. I fixed my hair, returned to the room, opened the closet door, and found some of my clothes. I picked out a pair of jeans and a yellow blouse and changed. I'd always disliked staying in my night clothes. I had passed away during the winter when temperatures were cold, but surprisingly, it was not cold in the room. I felt quite comfortable. I heard a knock at the door and Mauricio entered. He held a tray which he placed on the table. This time, I was the one who was smiling. It is so nice to see that you are well. Mauricio, isn't this winter? How come it's not cold in here? And then Mauricio said, well, neither hot nor cold. Temperatures in the colonies are constantly nice and pleasant. They vary in the umbral the same way they vary to incarnates in the physical world. And then he uncovered the tray and had food on it. Patricia, come and eat. And then she said, well, I thought I wasn't going to need food anymore. And then he said, well, the impressions of being in the physical world don't go away overnight. And then she asked, well, do you eat? And then Mauricio said, no, not this way. May I remind you that the paraspirit that surrounds you is still matter. You'll stop feeding yourself slowly. In order to do that, you need to learn how to make use of other sources of energy. If you want to take a bath, go ahead, feel free. The bathroom is over there. You had good hygienic habits on Earth. It's normal that you keep on doing things as you did before until you learn how to clean yourself by using your willpower. What about these clothes? They're mine. How did they end up here? And he said, well, they're not the same ones, of course. When you were incarnated, you wore material clothes. They're different here, being suitable for discarnate spirits. These are copies of those you had on Earth. I materialized them to please you, changed them freely. So we're learning a lot here. So what is he saying? He is saying that, one, go ahead and eat when you first start, but you don't really need to eat. In fact, there's a whole chapter in No Solar about how people in No Solar still really like the human habit of eating, right? It's a great pleasure to many people, and who can blame them? But the governor of No Solar spent I forgot, it was 30, 50 years trying to get people say, look, if you want to go higher and higher in the spiritual hierarchy, you have to kind of leave this eating out, right? You can get energy through water, through the environment around you, and you don't need it because your body, you're more etheric. You're less matter and more energy, and your amount of energy you need is so small to keep you going. Now, also the bathroom. Well, when you stop eating, guess what else you can stop doing? You don't need to do any of that stuff anymore. There's still some you have to do. And in fact, um, the spirit Andre Luis in the book No Solar says there's other types of things in that bathroom, but he didn't describe them. But there's probably still some waste that we have to go as you're kind of going from, you're still somewhat material but mostly energy. And as you go higher and higher, you become less material and more energy. And the ratio of material to energy gets smaller and smaller, right? And then also clothes. He talked about clothes. Well, how do you have clothes? Well, you think of clothes. You're Paris, but you think what you want to wear and you wear it. You don't even have to wear clothes if you don't want to. But if you want to have clothes on, you think of clothes and you have it. And then, of course, good hygienic habits. You can take a bath, but you can also, you just willpower, clean yourself. That just shows you, as I say over and over again, in the spirit world, thought is action. So he goes, and then she says, well, and she's being treated really nice. She goes, well, thank you. Does this happen to everyone who disincarnates? And he said, no, you, Patricia, came to this colony because of your merit and affinity. When you were on Earth, you made many friends, and here you're dear to many. Friends are meant to help. That's why we try to please you. Unfortunately, we cannot do this for everyone. The majority wears clothes like mine made out of mental energy, manufactured right here in the colony. We're your father's co-workers. He requested our help in trusting you to us, and we hope to take good care of you, little girl. She goes, I didn't go to the infirmary? Goes, if you have, you wouldn't have minded. Maybe we can do all of this for you exactly because you don't want preferential treatment. Individual rooms are very special. Now, eat. So, what is he telling us? Again, clothes are made out of mental energy. Those are created by thought. And then she had a wonderful changeover. So wonderful death. She had as I talked about the first time, she had like a headache. She must have had an aneurysm. She did. She actually said that, an aneurysm, and she died very fast. And then she was asleep and woke up here. She slept for like 16 days. Now that doesn't happen to everyone, right? And then he also said, yeah, you've got a lot of friends here. So again, the mundane secret of heaven is just like on earth. We have our friends. We have people that help us. We have people that look out for us. We have people that we do favors for and people that do favors for us. So again, networking and being with people like you on a higher spiritual level is extremely important. If you were a member of a criminal gang, well, what would have happened if you died? Well, you would die and you would wake up with probably other criminals around you. Some of them would probably want to take advantage of you, which they do. A lot of times innocent, well, I don't want to say innocent, but people with criminal attitudes, but aren't that bad. They wake up in the umbrow and criminal gangs take them and use them as worker slaves. Not nice. That's why everyone should work a little bit on their spirituality and understand what heaven, the lower zone, and the dark abyss is all about. In fact, I'll talk more about the dark abyss, the lower zone, the umbrella is called in Portuguese, on Tuesday, because I'm going through a whole series of the recollections of an officer as he went down into the lower levels of hell, which is called the dark abyss. And hell is not eternal. So then she goes on, she says, there were fruits, sweets, and bread on the tray. Because I tried a pear, it was delicious. I ate everything in an instant. The fruits were delicious and the bread soft and savory. Mauricio observed me the whole time, always smiling. I finished eating and looked at him. I wanted to take a bath, but was ashamed to tell him. It was so weird. I had passed away, yet had just eaten and felt like bathing. Then he said, little Patricia, make yourself comfortable. Take a bath, brush your teeth, use the toilet. I'll take the tray away and I'll come back in 1 hour. If you need help, ring the bell. And then she says, I went to the bathroom, took a wonderful shower. I've always enjoyed a shower with abundant hot water, and the water was just right. The shower is a little different here. It is regulated by a button that rotates. I washed myself from head to toe, and I put on the same clothes I'd been wearing. I combed my hair, which was long and in curls like my mother's. This had always been a problem for us. What am I going to do now? I thought to myself. But to my surprise, my hair remained just the way I wanted it. So again, thought is action, right? She's going to learn. She's going to get the look exactly as she wants it. If you're like me, old and gray hair and balding, when I go back to spirit world, guess what? I'm going to be younger, right? Because I'm going to think of myself as younger, just like anyone else here. You will start looking the way you think you should. As spirits tell us, the very young get a little older and the old get a little younger. So everyone kind of meets however they like it. Some like 20s, 30s, 40s, or 50s. That's however they think of themselves. That's how they'll be. And then she goes, Mauricio goes, my hair remained just the way I liked it. It seems to obey my will. And he goes, well, that's how it will be. You will wish for something and it will be done. You'll always have your hair as you like it without any effort. And she said, well, I still had physiological needs because I ate and drank, and therefore I had to use the toilet. But I no longer had menstruation. This is the characteristic of the carnal body, she said. Later, I found out that some women still had it as a reflex of their physical body. So again, some women probably thought they still needed to menstruate, but they really didn't. It was physically not important. So if you think you don't need it, then you don't need it. That's kind of the sad part of some women, some people as they die, and they've had great pains in their body. And when they leave in their mind, they still have these pains and they still feel that. But hopefully they talk to counselors in the spiritual world and they get rid of that because it's just a habit they had. And because as he said, look, you think of something and that's the way it is. Now let's talk about that for a second. Many people who say, well, heaven is whatever you think it is. And there's certainly truth in that, right? Because I've just said, what is thought is action in the spirit world. But notice how Patricia woke up in an environment already created for her, and she became absorbed into that environment. So your mind is powerful, but then you have to think. You are with all sorts of other people who are thinking it the same way. And if that's why the law of infinity is so important. You're thinking the same way, so you accept the same environment. You also have superior spirits who've probably at firstly created most of that environment. And so their willpower is much stronger. Their focus and their faith is much stronger than yours. So you are part of all that. You're not just like an island of thought and you create on this blank canvas. No, you are kind of interconnected with everyone else's thoughts and feelings and what their environment is and what the atmosphere is. And also there's superior spirits who've set the basic foundation of where you are at. And you absorb yourself into that, but you can make small changes yourself. And if you kind of go off by yourself, maybe into in sort of an area of just nature, you can probably do other things. You can create your own house, of course. And as you go higher and higher spirits, you create your own house, you'll create your own gardens. You learn all these things as you go higher and higher. And then she goes on to say, in the beginning, I used to wake up hungry and thirsty, but little by little, I slept and ate less. My nourishment consisted of fruits, bread, and broth or vegetable soup. I enjoyed the food. Everything tasted very good and had an energizing effect. My grandmother advised me to think I was being nourished every time I drank water. Limpid water is the best source of energy, she said. I enjoyed great showers every day and changed my clothes often. While incarnated, my change of clothes were later washed and ironed. Now my grandmother would take my clothes and would bring them back clean, placing them in my closet. Much later, she explained to me that she used her mental power to clean them. When I learned to take care of my personal hygiene in the same manner, I also learned how to clean my clothes. I was feeling clean and in peace. Anyway, with all that attention and love, who would not? So that was the end of chapter 3. Now let's go when she has visitors. So what have we learned? We've learned that amazingly, heaven is a lot like earth, but more perfect. You still eat, but you don't really need to. And as your grandmother said, you can just drink water. You need very little energy. As you're this etheric atom, everything is less dense, right? You're not on this dense, heavy atoms that we have. These are much lighter, need less energy. It's like the difference of an energy needed by a cell phone versus a mainframe computer. You don't need much. Also, Your clothes, you can create yourself, right? And she said she hadn't learned yet how to create her clothes, but she learned how to clean them. Her hair was the way she wanted because she thought her hair was the way she wanted it. So all these things, this is what heaven, this is what is awaiting for you. This, I can't say this enough times. Heaven, our time in the spirit world, is our real life. We are on earth. We are on earth to change our character and our personality. Why? Why can't we change our character and personality in heaven? It's such a great place. Why do we have to leave? Because we are on this planet, right? We're still immature spirits. We are on a planet of atonement. Now, Earth at first was a primitive planet. We are primitive spirits. We're like little babies learning how to socialize. Now we're here and we're learning. We're still like little liars. We're mischievous. We're selfish. We're prideful, right? We're like a 6 or 7-year-old. We do all those things. We get mad when we're caught. You know, who can blame us? And we have to learn how not to do that. And in heaven, it's such a wonderful atmosphere. You can just get along and it's great. But you don't have necessarily, you can still change yourself. I'm not saying that you can't, but it's harder because you don't have that stimuli to make you have deep introspection to really change your personality and your character. That is really what is the difference, is to have that deep introspection. And in Earth, on this physical plane, where we live in objective environment, meaning the wall is a wall, our clothes is, our clothes. I can't put my hand through the wall. I can't put my hand on the book and read the book. Whereas in heaven, it's a subjective, right? Because a lot of it's to do with our thoughts. The environment is what we wish it to be to a certain extent. So therefore, in an objective environment, we have to learn within certain limits. We are like a horse with blinders. We can only see what is ahead of us. So we are given trials to remove those primitive emotions that we had and replace them with more exalted emotions. Now, let me carry on one more thing before I start in the next chapter. So our life is a set of predetermined trials set to sometimes just to teach us new things, not always to atone for past mistakes, but also to atone for past mistakes. So I can't tell you how many people say, well, how can I learn from my trials if I don't know what I did? Well, actually, you can, and there are many ways of doing this. One is to analyze your personality and analyze the trials you're going through. If you're like me and you've lost your pot of money, like when I was given, money by companies that were bought out, I found out that I must have been, very irresponsible or taking money from other people. Now I was told, I was set to learn to lose it, in which I found out later in a mediums meeting that, yes, I had done that. And there's other things you can look at it. Now, also, when you are in the spirit world, preparing yourself for reincarnation, and when you are in your mother's womb, you relive your whole life and you relive the tasks that you're taking. And you will be given opportunities to make the same mistake you made before. But your instincts, what's your instinct and your conscience, are two things that come with you when you're incarnated on earth. It's not like you're set on earth with nothing. Your conscience, you're set of divine laws. Your instinct will tell you when you're given by your trials a choice to make, like should I rob that liquor store or not rob that liquor store? Your instinct will say, I shouldn't do it because you've done something like that before and it did not turn out right. And it was the wrong morally thing to do. Your instinct will tell you, as well as your conscience, if you're listening to your conscience, depends what level of spirituality you are, will tell you not to do something that you've done before. And you're given that free will choice, because we always have free will. Our trials and tribulations are set for us, but our choices within those are not. And that is how you will be affected by your previous life. So you don't really need to know what you've done about your previous life. It's not a prerequisite. Okay, let's go into the next chapter. Visitors. She goes, I opened my window, and what a pleasant surprise. I had a view to a plaza surrounded by flowers and trees. Colorful birds sang happily on tree branches, and some butterflies of rare beauty were flying around randomly. It was daytime, and the sky looked beautiful. And it was wonderfully blue in a way I've never seen before. I was in such awe of the scenery that I spent a long time contemplating everything, ecstatic at the sight of so much beauty. And then Mauricio said, Patricia goes, oh, hi, Mauricio. Goes, I spoke softly because I was afraid to frighten you. She goes, Mauricio, I'm charmed by such beauty. I've never seen the sky so beautiful. And he says, well, it's the same sky seen by incarnated people. You think it's more beautiful because your visual perception has improved. You see it differently now. Now, let me parse that. What we are told by spirits is that we see only 1/8 of the world around us. Our sight, our sense of smell, our sense of touch, other senses we don't know we have, are all limited. As I said before about those blinders on the horse, right? Or you think that we're in this diving suit. We are really hobbled. We are, the governor's on us as far as what we can and can't do because we're here on this physical plane, this physical dimension in order to learn. And therefore, everything is much more wonderful. And then she asked, is San Sebastian the same size as No Solar? And San Sebastian is a colony. No Solar is part of a bigger city. And he says, no, our colony is small. There are small and medium-sized colonies as well as large ones like No Solar. There are many of them spread around Brazil and the world. They're like the cities in the physical plane. They differ in their governing bodies. Still, they try to all have the cabinets or departments to better administrate. So you see, they're like the government offices in the cities of the incarnates. They're all well organized, and all of them offer wonderful attractions to anyone who is able to perceive and see them. Now, we talk about these cities. They talk about No Solar. Now, No Solar is a spiritual city above Rio de Janeiro. And I don't know where San Sebastian colony was above. But if there's colonies above Los Angeles, Kansas City, wherever, there are those things. And those are places where you go because when you first go in the first levels of heaven, they put you in the same culture and language of who you were with before. That way, it doesn't make it like, all of a sudden you're into this city above, some city in Asia when, you don't speak their language and you don't know what's going on. No, they make you comfortable. It's just like school, right? Each grade, they slowly introduce you with new concepts. The same way, of course, the spirit world is so much smarter and sophisticated than we are here on our planet of atonement called Earth. And so and of course, the people in the city, you don't vote for the people in the city. These are appointed. And these people are appointed by superior spirits. And these people, the bureaucracy in these cities is not like our bureaucracy where these people, not all of them, I should say, but where they feel like they have power over you. These people, they try to help you. And there are many good stories of that. There's a story in the memoirs of a suicide where this suicide wanted to go see his family, and he got himself all girded up to go fight the bureaucracy. And he came into the head of the hospital, and the guy said, look, I'm just this humble person. I'm here to help you. And he tried to talk him out of doing what he wanted to do because he knew he wasn't ready, but he went to the earth anyway. Of course, it was a complete disaster. So the people in charge are in charge because of meritocracy. They're in charge because they are superior, as far as in knowledge and as far as being nice and wonderful and have all the good qualities, spiritually mature, superior. And of course, they all know that you will be there someday too. In fact, you may pass them by. You never know how these things go, but they're there because they should be there. So then she said, as soon as I got the authorization to leave my room, my grandmother took me for a walk around the area or hospital wing where my room was located. I walked around checking every detail from the corridors to the other rooms. It was a pleasure to visit the plaza. There we sat on a bench while I kept scrutinizing the surroundings. The trees looked healthy, of a beautiful lush green, and their leaves were in harmony with the ensemble. There were innumerable flowering vines of several varieties as well. Birds were not afraid of people coming to them when called. He goes, Grandma, look at this one, how exquisite. It's blue. Everything here is more beautiful, including the sun, the moon, and the stars. Then the grandmother said, the condition of our spirit helps us to see things more beautifully. Here, the animals are loved and protected. They're our friends. In the colonies, we have domestic pets and many others who help the rescue squads. Other animals delight the children at the learning centers. There are several species of animals in the woods, all tame and friendly. Again, I've read many, vignettes from other spirits. They talk about, when they'll have horses drawing carriages, and the horse is like, oh, I'm happy drawing this carriage, right? The animals look happy in the work that they're doing, and they're all loved and protected. There's, not one of them is ever abused or anything like that. They enjoy and then the domestic pets. The nice thing about the domestic pets is they can reincarnate with you. And also, you can also look into their mind. In fact, in one of the books I was reading, this spirit was looking at the mind of his dog, and he saw him, running through the field chasing a butterfly or something like that. And, because this is how, the animals think. So it's great. You can actually kind of see what they're really thinking. So these are all the wonderful aspects of the spirit world. Then she goes, during this time, I had many visitors. There were friends and relatives, discarnate workers from the Spiritism Center I had frequented. These were quick and pleasant visits, everyone trying to please me. They would bring me gifts, fruit, books, flowers, and bonus hours. Now, what are bonus hours? This is what she writes. The latter meant I would be able to go to the theater, attend seminars, and other entertainment places as soon as I was allowed. It was a pleasure to meet other people like Antonio, Alexander, Arthur, and many other discarnate companions. So what bonus hours are, and this is just on some of the, each colony has their own thing. No Solar also had bonus hours. So everyone is expected, or, not forced, can work. And you can earn bonus hours. Everyone's paid the same, except some people who work with children are paid a little bit more. And you can use those bonus hours to do other things. Now, if you don't want to work, you still have a place to live, right? You can eat food and all that type of stuff, but you can't have other things. Oh, and talk about animals. Let's bring this in. So someone asked, I had a cat for 25 years. Will I ever meet her again? And I would say if you had some sort of affinity for that cat, it wasn't just a cat that, you just lived together and didn't like each other, probably not, or they wouldn't ask me that question. The answer is yes. And in fact, if you buy another cat, get another cat somehow, it could be the same cat, because cats can reincarnate much more frequently because their lifespans are shorter than we are. So it's like some people have had a dog, and, I've had several dogs. I've had one really special dog, but that's the last I've seen of him. But then again, some people I know, like my daughter had a cat, it died early, but then now she, it's about, I think almost a year later, she got another cat, and the personality is the same. So I would think that was the same cat reincarnated again. So the answer is you can meet the cat here. In fact, Chico Xavier one time was sitting next to a woman, and she had this little lap dog on her lap, and he says, "Do you know how long you've had that dog?" And she goes, 2 to 3 years. He goes, "No, that dog has been with you for 500 years. So just like maybe your cat may have been with you in a previous life or lives, and may be with you in future lives." So I just wanted to stop that, because I think that is very interesting for many people. And and then she says, I have a dog now, right? So you never know. So there's another one. You never know how these things will go. Okay, let's carry on with what Patricia was saying. So then Arthur brought me a map of the colony, and there are booklets in almost every colony showing how they are laid out and where their buildings are located. I did not see the maps in the rescue stations. That did not seem to be necessary because they're so small. I started a list of places I wanted to visit and things I'd like to do. As I talked to my friends who commented on the beauty of these places, I recorded on my little notebook, and so the list got bigger and bigger. I was particularly interested in visiting the teaching establishments. And then she asked her grandma, goes, how come I haven't seen my other grandparents? And her grandmother said, well, they are incarnated now. That's the law of life. Sometimes here, sometimes over there. So being discarnate was really enjoyable. One afternoon, when I was alone, I had another visitor. Good afternoon, he said. He was smiling. He goes, I'm Antonio Carlos. He goes, what a pleasure. How's my Aunt Vera? He goes, well, everyone is fine. How about you? And she says, our pleasant conversation lasted a few minutes, and he said goodbye and left, promising to return later. I opened the package. Inside a hard, transparent, plastic-like box, there was something. I had no clue as what it was. I'd never seen anything like it and kept wondering, what could it be? Candy? Bonbons? They were shaped like small blue buttons, darker in the center, lighter around the edges, and had small stems. I opened the box and examined them. The smell was pleasant. I tasted one. I liked it, so I ate them all. And soon afterwards, Mauricio showed up for his usual visit. Well, Patricia, did you like the flowers that Antonio Carlos gave you? Because flowers, were they flowers? Goes, yes, a species of rare beauty, magnetized so they wouldn't dry out. What have you done with them? And of course, he goes, I ate them. Mauricio says, you ate them? And they all laugh. He goes, well, what now? Will it do me any harm? He goes, no, the flowers won't make you sick. Just think through, though. Carlos spent so much time wondering what he would bring you before he picked those flowers in the superior plane and magnetized them. But tell me, did they taste good? He goes, yes, they did. I'd never seen blue flowers like those, so I thought they were fancy candy. And of course, they all had a big laugh. Now, let's talk about flowers for a second. What we are told is, remember, there is no such thing as time. There's no decaying. You make a wall, it's a wall. If you cut a flower, the flower stays the way it is. Now, what will happen is what they say in the spirit world is when you cut a flower and put it in a vase, eventually it will just fade away. It won't decay like flowers here decay. It will just fade away because instead of time, there is duration. So think of this. Think of duration instead of time. Here, well, next week. And then instead of that, you say, oh, those flowers will last about a week. And then if you were in the spirit world, you'd say, well, the duration those flowers will last will be 10 days, and then they will disappear because there is no degradation. There is no time. There's no aging. So you really have to think about things differently. You're going from a 3-dimension to 4 dimensions. And as they say in the spirit world, as you go higher and higher, there's other dimensions in there, but they don't even know. So then she said, Mauricio, I feel fine. I want to be useful. I need to continue my education so I can avoid these blunders. He goes, okay. Now, easy. You've just passed over all in good time. The newborn of today will be the adult of tomorrow. You'll leave this room and live with your grandmother for a while. She's on leave from work, so you can stay with her. She'll show you around the colony, its gardens and flowers. Later, you'll learn and will be of service as you wish. So then grandma arrived. He goes, Patricia, tomorrow morning, I will come for you, and you will stay with me for a while. I live in a pretty house in the residential section of the colony with 5 friends. They're all very nice. The house is big, and everyone has a private room. The rooms are nothing more than a place to keep our belongings, like a personal corner. You'll have yours. It's very much like this one, a room with a bath. We'll take your clothes with us. I'll be able to keep you company when we go out on outings. And she goes, well, Grandma, do you like it here? He goes, very much so. Will you leave your work to stay with me? He goes, no, not entirely. I'll work while you sleep. It'll be a few hours, but only for a short time. What do you do, Grandma? He goes, I work at the hospital, but in a different section where those who are severely sick stay. She goes, thank you. So why are people severely sick in a spiritual hospital? Well, those are people, and you'll read the same in the book No Solar. Those are people who came from the lower zone in very bad mental shape. They look bad physically, but that's because mentally they think of themselves in bad physical shape, and they need a lot of magnetic passes, and they need time to have help from people who are trying to make them feel better until they'll give them magnetic passes. Now, again, in our physical world, if you go to a Spiritism center, which I have done in the United States and in Brazil, you'll usually go, when a Spiritism center happens, you'll go and you'll listen to a half hour, an hour lecture, something about some aspect of Spiritism. Then Afterwards, you'll go and you have passes done. So what you'll do is you'll go into a room and you'll sit down, and a medium will come in front of you and wave their arm. They won't touch you, but they'll wave their arm in front of you. Behind that medium, there'll be a spirit who will use that medium to fashion universal fluid to then help repair your body and make it a little bit stronger and healthier, and restore your composure, your what they call your force centers, our chakras, to rebalance them and put them into harmony. Now, of course, it's up to you to maintain that harmony, but that's what will happen. It just takes, probably 2 or 3 minutes, and you'll drink some magnetized water. You can also, when you're at home, what we do at our family is we have a God at home one night a week, and it's just 15, 30 minutes, and you read something and you discuss about Spiritism. And what we do is we put this jar of water, each person has their own water bottle. And then after the spirits around you need to do this the same time once a week. So spirits get used to your habit, and they will be with you there, give you good inspiration. And then they'll also magnetize the water. You drink the water again, that will make you healthier. So then Grandma said, then Grandma smiled and said goodbye. And she said, when I was alone, I thought of my father. And he said, my child, don't worry about anything. Don't be afraid of the unknown. God is everywhere, so be aware of him. Accept with joy what is being offered to you. Time goes by fast, and soon the spiritual plane will be your home, your true home. And then she picked up a book to read. And then she remembered at the time of my passing over, I'd also been reading a Spiritist novel. This one I'd almost finished. So far, it seemed that my life had not changed at all. I wonder if it would change, though. So that is the end. Now, next week, we'll talk about moving and other things in the spiritual plane. So this is kind of an introduction. Finding out Patricia is in the colony San Sebastian. Everything is normal and yet not, right? That's what you'll find. This is, we're trying to explain to you, don't be afraid of death. Death is actually wonderful. In fact, the great spiritist Leon Denis said that birth is much more traumatic than death. And now, if you die and you're not a good person, you've been dishonest, you've lied and cheated and stole, your death you'll be met by other people like you. That's the law of affinity. But if you've been tried to be honorable and gone up on your path, you will most likely be helped in your passing over from your physical body to your spirit body, and you'll wake up into a wonderful, beautiful world. So again, please hit the like button, share, subscribe. I talk a lot more about heaven and below in my series of 3 books. In fact, one of the books I was talking to a lot is, let me find it, Spirits in the Spirit Universe. A lot of things we were talking about today is in this book, Spirit in the Spirit Universe. Heaven and Below was book 1, and Spirit in the Spirit Universe is book 2, and How We Are Guided by Spirits is book 3. But Spirits in the Spirit Universe really talks about what are the attributes of the Spirit. Now, I want to make sure everybody understands this. In our physical world, we are not, in the U.S. Declaration of Independence says all men are created equal. Well, of course, we know that really means equal under the law. They're not created equal. I could never be a great basketball player or football player or anything like that. But in the spirit world, all spirits are created equal. You can be as intelligent, you can be a musical genius, you can be whatever you want. You just have to work for that. So everyone has the same potential, and it's just up to your own drive and intellectual powers, right? Your attitude and your character to go for that. Now, the other thing is each level, there's multiple levels of heaven around the earth. There's levels over the other planets. There's levels over the solar system. There's higher and higher levels. And also, as you go from one level to the next, and then we'll get to this, actually, I talk about this in this book, about education on each level in the spirit world. And you're not just given a piece of paper like, okay, well, here's a piece of paper, you're a graduate, of level 1 or level 2, whatever. No, you're actually given, you're actually, again, your ratio changes, you become less matter and more energy, and you're also given some more attributes. You may be able to plug in greater into the universal cloud. At the beginning of the talk, I talked about communication, right? Right, thought, speech, and then sending pictures. There's also an aspect of communication of when you plug yourself in the universal database, and you can find out everything. If I was there, let's say I had the capability, I could plug in the universal database and I could look up anyone I wanted to, and I could see what they were in previous lives, as if I was given the ability and the permission. Their previous lives, what they were thinking on October the 2nd in the year 500 AD or 440 BC, whatever you want. I could know everything. I could know what they're thinking right now if I knew their universal ID. So those are things you can really do. And that's why the power is so fantastic, it's really beyond your imagination. And if you think of the power of the spirit world and how our minds are so important, then you can understand why we must go through this, what we consider many times. We probably don't when we're in heaven and looking down on us, but here on earth, just like a 5-year-old gets mad at his parents, giving them, a little bit of discipline. Why it seems so harsh for most of us? Because we are trying to go through trials and tribulations to change the basic tenets of our character. They're trying to remove jealousy, pride, envy, all that type of stuff we have to get rid of. If we're going to go higher and higher in heaven and have responsibility and have this great power, then we must know how to use it with calmness and with love in every circumstance. So anyone, I want to say thank you for watching me tonight. Please join next Sunday night, same time, 5 p.m. Eastern, all time zones around the world. Tuesday, I will talk on another subject. Tuesday night at 5 p.m., same time on YouTube streaming. Of course, I will put this on, so it's on YouTube so you can watch it anytime. Tell your friends. And God bless everyone, and good night.